It is Thursday, March 26th, and for the last couple of weeks I've talked a lot about prayer and meditation. And if you've been practicing those disciplines and you're ready for the next step, then I want to talk about another discipline to add to those. Today I'm going to talk about the discipline of fasting. Today I'm going to talk about the spiritual aspect of fasting, and then I'll come back tomorrow to talk about the physical aspect of fasting. Fasting is consciously refusing to eat any food for a set period of time. And throughout the Bible, lots of people fasted. Moses, King David, Esther, Paul, and Jesus are all just a few examples of the people who fasted in the Bible. Now, this is not a requirement. There is no command in the Bible saying that Christians have to fast. However, in Matthew chapter 6, when Jesus talked about fasting, he said, "When you fast." He did not say, "if you fast." He said, "when you fast." Jesus didn't command us to fast, but he assumed that we already were fasting. And the primary goal of fasting is to grow closer to the Lord. This physical sacrifice heightens our spiritual awareness. Particularly in a long fast, you will find that you want food, but you want to know God more. The physical act of fasting is aimed at glorifying God and knowing Him better. That said, there are still many other secondary spiritual advantages to fasting. Fasting reveals what has power over us. If fear or anger or selfishness have power in our lives, fasting brings that before our eyes. At first we might think I'm just angry because I'm hungry, but eventually we realize that anger has power over us. And fasting reveals that. Fasting builds self-control. Fasting is focused specifically on food, but self-control in any area of life builds self-control in every area of life. Fasting gives power to our prayers. Throughout the Bible, people often went to God in fasting when they had a petition for the Lord. So when you fast, set aside extra time for prayer and meditation. And the primary goal of fasting is still to know God more, but you should also choose a secondary prayer to bring before the Lord. Over the centuries, Christians have often noted that fasting is particularly effective in breaking the power of temptation in our lives and in seeking God's guidance when we don't know where to turn. Fasting helps build balance in our lives. As we seek simplicity in our lives, fasting reveals to us what really matters and what really doesn't matter. Now, it should go without saying that fasting is not done for other people. It is done for God. The only direct instructions Jesus gave about fasting was that when we fast, we should not be like the hypocrites who make a big show of fasting. Rather, our fasting should be secretive, done for God alone. Your immediate family will need to know if you are fasting, and there could arise other circumstances in life where you would need to tell someone that you are fasting. Our God does not support dishonesty in any setting, but for the most part, no one else needs to know. Your fast is between you and God. So that's the spiritual aspect of fasting, and I'll be back on Friday to talk about the physical aspect of fasting. With that said, may God be with you, and I'll see you tomorrow.